Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. Our show is a production of the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation and our affiliated political committee, the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp. We have an exciting show for you tonight. We have a couple of guests, including our first patient in the state of Michigan and a leader from law enforcement against prohibition. Mr. Tim Pate is here to provide musical accompaniment as well, and he'll be on in just a moment. But first, as we always do, we'll bring on our infamous cannabis dancing leaves.
I feel the force.
All right, and here's Mr. Tim Pate. How are you doing this week, Tim?
Oh, you know what? It's a spring week, so lots of flowers are blooming all over the place, and so and if you live in Portland, Oregon, you know it's beautiful outside right now. It really is. It's a pretty time of the year. It is, but even though it's that pretty, it's one of those, don't put your plants out quite yet because we still had a frost this week. Maybe wait another week or two or three. So anyway, it's kind of like one of those times of the year when it's right in the middle, right. Almost there. I've been playing music such a long time. Sometimes I forget old songs and I should bring them out again. Back in '92, I auditioned to open for the Grateful Dead with this song right here and won the audition. So anyway, I figured I'd pull it back out. Was she so bad? She's bad for me. She's so bad. She's bad for me. She's so bad. Got me tied up, I can't see. Well, she'll be bad. She'll be bad for me. She's so bad. Oh, let me tell you, that girl's been bad right down to her knees. She's so bad. I guess I should leave. She'll be bad. She'll be bad for you. She's so bad. Oh, let me tell you, she'll be bad for you, boy. She's so bad. If I were you, I would move. she'll be bad. She'll be bad for me. She's so bad. Oh, I tell you, that girl's been bad right down to her knees. She's so bad. So tell me why I can't leave. No, I can't go. I can't leave. Oh, but she's so bad.
Mr. Tim Pate. Hello, Tim.
Thank you.
So I'd like to welcome a guest here. We have our very first patient to go through our clinic in Michigan, and a supporter of the Michigan Marijuana Initiative, the Medical Marijuana Initiative that passed in, it was 2008, right? And so Mr. Charles Snyder. Hello, Charlie.
Hey,
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are you doing today?
Very well, very well. I know she brought a couple things, including one of the federal tins for medical marijuana. Those are collectibles.
Yeah, well, I brought it along to illustrate the point. Really, my journey began about 9 years ago. I was actually on a bunch of pharmaceutical medications, and I opened an email and was surprised to find out that George McMahon, one of the 4 remaining patients, he actually received 300 pre-rolled marijuana cigarettes, and so I just kind of made up my mind that day that I was going to educate myself and try to show the inconsistency between the treatment of Mr. McMahon and myself. And within 3 years, I had attended the 2004 Charlottesville Clinical Cannabis Conference,
Right.
and that concretized a lot of my experience, personal anecdotal experiences, and it's really been a long journey up until the present. But
So first you worked on you're from Flint, Michigan.
correct. I was born in Flint and raised in Flint.
So first you worked on a Flint citywide medical marijuana initiative.
Yes, yes.
And then your condition's pretty rare. It's nail patella syndrome.
Correct.
They actually wrote that into the statewide law, which is pretty unusual.
Yes, well, it's actually, it was a once thought to be rare genetic bone condition, and it still is rare. However, just by putting this into this law, it's actually helped to educate and bring out people from all walks of life I've had contact me. So I think that just by getting it added to the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, that's going to allow for future states to also add it and give better access to nail patella syndrome patients.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad to have taken part in that. It's really about people having access to a medicine. I never badmouth pharmaceuticals, but for those who have had negative experiences with opiate pain medications, George McMahon is testimony to 17 pharmaceutical pills 3 times a day. He was able to use the NIDA, which is 3.5%, I believe, very low THC.
Comparatively low THC.
Seeds and stems. It's from, let's see the date on here, 1996. They've been growing it, freeze drying it.
Yeah,
and
they're still giving it out.
And so if he's able to get medical benefit from that, I believe that
Fresher would be better.
yeah, well, fresher would be better, but actually, on that note, I just attended the 2010 Patients Out of Time conference in Rhode Island,
Right.
and it's interesting. I came out to the West Coast to Dr. William Courtney's researching the raw food potential of cannabis. So I think that's one phase I would like to try on my condition, because I'm always looking for new methods to help alleviate some of the more, I guess, painful aspects of nail patella syndrome. But
Yeah.
I'm still with cannabis. I am still able to.
Would you tell us a little bit more about that syndrome? What
Yeah,
does it do?
It's a rare. Well, it manifests differently within each patient,
Okay.
but primarily it affects the nails,
Mhm.
missing nails, the thumbnail is missing, and then the kneecap. The patellar groove where the kneecap is supposed to be,
Yes.
it's very small, and when the knee bends, it dislocates.
Okay.
And also, I had club foot as a child, which left the foot very twisted, and it required multiple surgeries.
Right.
And I was actually able to...
I had a first cousin with that.
Yes, well, yeah, it's all actually called Ponsetti's method. They use casting at first to get it to where they need it, and then they'll do an Achilles tendon release and a bilateral release, and that's able to bring about a normal foot, I guess, bending or whatnot.
Right.
But however, I actually see it as a blessing because now my daughter was able to receive a really non-invasive surgery. She's 4 years old, and she's had her second surgery. So she'll be good this summer, no more surgeries, and we're also blessed to have our son, who's 8 months old, with no club foot symptoms whatsoever.
Right on.
So although he has the thumbnails, so I'm actually, this isn't just a battle for me, it's for my family members, anybody that has nail patella syndrome, and other patients. So it just makes me really grateful that I could actually even be on this show to share my story.
Absolutely.
So
That's great.
I can go on and on and on.
Well, we
but
show in Detroit, so you're talking to a family. I mean, back there in Michigan. So
yeah, it's very exciting there. The implementation phase is going strong. And I actually work with Americans for Safe Access, and we're working on preparing for victory. So I'm actually trying to use this federal story also to get out. I met with Irvin Rosenfeld. I'd like to show his book too. He just wrote My Medicine. He's releasing it in the hardcover in the fall, but this is just a release trying to get the word out for him. He's a good friend of mine.
He's got one of those cans on there.
yes.
And he's got the
You
can
know,
on there, of
One of the
course.
things we do here is we do take viewer phone calls. So if you're out there and you have a question, just give us a call at 503-288-4448. And we have a phone call. So welcome to our show, caller.
Thank you. My name's Howie, and I'm a patient of medical marijuana. I have Parkinson's, and I've had 3 back surgeries, and it has done amazing things for my Parkinson's. I don't have as many tremors. I don't have to take my Parkinson's medication as often,
Right on.
and it's an awesome thing. And the gentleman with the patella disease, good luck, and keep smoking, dude. It works.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
You too,
Thanks
man.
for your
And
call.
good
If
luck
you're
to
out
you.
there, you got a question for us, call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. For the folks who are watching on the internet at ustream.tv, you can text a question to us, and we'll be taking some of the text questions from the internet as well. So what are you up to now, Tim?
Oh my word! It's been one of those interesting weeks, just because the garden is so blooming up, you know. And we just got off tour, so I got a little bit of time to catch my breath this week. But last weekend we had the biggest tour, the biggest march that we've ever had. I know we've got I think a film clip about that here later on. But it was a great march last week.
It was. I think it was 900 to 1,000 people.
I think it was that many people.
That's the 11th annual march for the Global Marijuana March here in Portland, organized by Oregon Normal, and they had an event that started at 10 in the morning, went till 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
It was really quite successful.
My band got to
bands.
play the 4-piece, you know, and we really have a lot of fun when we get together. So I think the next chance we're going to be together will be at the Seattle Hemp Fest and then Hemp Stock here in town. So we don't get that many chances actually for the 4 of us to gather together and play music. So
Did a
I look
good
forward
job
to
down
it.
in Grants Pass. I
Oh,
know
thank
that.
you. We had fun down there.
We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on our show.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, very well, thanks.
Hey, man, I was really stoked on your music, man. What's your band name, and where can we hear your music?
Well, you know what? The band's name is, whenever we're together, is Belleville, Cornett, Davis, and Pate, because each one of them, when all 4 of us together, we have so much fun that I just had to put all the names on there, and so I did. That's what we call ourselves. So when we play in Seattle, I have been for many years, the opening act. That is the next time I understand I'll be playing in public. As far as my music is available, since this is public access, I really can't say, you know, hey, I've got it on sale here now, but I usually have 1 or 2 with me, so you have to find me, and that's just about the only way, and I don't have very many of them left, and that's just kind of the way it is. So.
You rip, man. I gotta say, man, you rip on the guitar, brother.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. It's
What's
very
that
kind of
name
you to
one
say
more
that.
What's that name of the band again?
Belleville, Cornett, Davis, and Pate. But you can always find my music under Tim Pate. You can go, I'm sure it's out there online. But to buy it, you got to find me.
Well, I know we have a number of your songs on our Hipstock site now, and
That's
Thanks
true.
a lot, man. Keep smoking.
I will. Thank you.
thanks for that call.
That's real. I appreciate that. You know, you do too. We get compliments all the time when we're out in public, and it's always touching. It always means a lot to us. So thank you very much for those kind words. I appreciate it. I do.
So again, if you're out there, you can call us at 503-288-4448.
Now, how long has the state of Michigan been legal for you to smoke medically?
November 3rd, 2008.
That's when it passed.
Yeah.
When it
And then on
passed.
December 4th,
December 4th.
2008, you went through our clinic, and we had a press conference after
Right.
that.
Yeah. That's how
And
you
so
guys
that's-
connect.
And then
Yeah.
April 4th of 2009.
They started
cards
taking
were starting
applications
being,
for the medical
yes,
marijuana cards in Michigan.
Applications were being given for it.
And so now
Actually,
they've been issuing those.
If I
and
can find it
I
real
think they're up to
quick.
10,000 here in the first
the
year. There's
Michigan
your
one.
card.
Right on. Hey. Right on. Very good.
That is a Michigan card. It's a neat little laminate.
Now, one of the nice things about Michigan is that it is a reciprocal state.
That's right.
One of the few. I thought they were very wise in putting that into their law.
Yeah,
I
I
really
agree.
like that. I wish we had thought of that ahead.
Well, that's what ASA does too. We help to make sure the new states that are passing these laws take all these things into consideration, so we don't have to go back and spend a
Exactly.
lot of lost time fixing things.
Well, I think that a lot of states, and in fact, I know that Michigan did as well, used Oregon's laws as a model to some degree.
To some degree, it's true.
I mean, we have some good things that are written into our laws here, but
Nothing's
you know,
lost. It's like nature.
Working through
Add on.
Very well
the
said.
health department was one of them. Oregon was the first state to do that, and now the majority of the states out there have permits issued by the health department. But we have another caller. Hello, caller. Welcome to our show.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for what you do for people.
Thank
I'm from Yakima,
Great.
and I'm kind of curious, where I can get some T-shirts and things that a guy can wear and kind of promote the medical side.
Well, we have T-shirts at our office. Once again, as Tim mentioned, cable access is specifically a non-commercial setting. So we can't actually go out here and hawk our goods. This is a public benefit station. But you just contact us. You come down to here in Portland, you would call 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. And we'd be happy to help you and get you involved in the whole medical marijuana movement.
You bet. And I also recommend that if you don't find all the styles you like, to come out to one of the shows. The
That's
Seattle
right.
Hemp Fest, which is just happens to be sponsored by the GHCF Clinic, and the Hemp Stock here in Portland, which also is sponsored by the GHCF Clinic. Imagine that. So there will be multiple opportunities for you to come out and find ways to support us before the final elections in November. There are things that are happening.
What was that?
I got to go to court. I got to go to court over a custody deal with my daughter over this.
Yes.
I've been a medical patient for 2 years.
Uh-huh.
And I told the ex-wife what was going on, and so she's kind of dragged me into court a couple times. The first time she lost, and this time I'm going to go in and promote the medical side of it because what it did for me, and maybe we'll get some recognition.
Well, good luck with that.
I was
know
gonna
that's
say
always
that.
a stressful thing.
Yeah, and it could go either way for you in that. I would be cautious about, antagonizing any judge under those circumstances.
I'm not antagonizing. I believe in what I believe in.
I know that. I do too. But you hear what I'm saying too, don't you, bro?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Well, I want to thank you guys again so much for what you do for people.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you
We
very much.
appreciate that compliment.
Yeah.
Have a good evening. We have a question in from Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh.
And the question from Providence, Rhode Island is, what do you recommend for someone that's taking methadone and wants to come off of that and not take so many pills? Well, you're probably taking methadone for a chronic pain condition. If that's the case, there in Rhode Island, there is a medical marijuana law, and you can get a medical marijuana permit. And then you can use medical marijuana to help you get off those drugs. We have a collection of antique medical marijuana containers, and many of them note they're for patients who are trying to get off of debilitating narcotics. So I hope that helps.
It helps with the nausea. It helps with the tremors. It helps with the spasms. those are things that, you know, obviously are going to come up whenever you were going through that. I know we always recommended that as well whenever we had people come in to any of the crisis centers. You know, you can't really recommend anything like that, but we knew they were much calmer if they already had that in their system.
We have a little film clip we're going to roll now, and we'll come back with another guest, so stay tuned.
Oregonians legalize marijuana. That question's not as far out as it may seem. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tom Adams. Activists are fighting to radically overhaul marijuana laws. In California, voters will soon decide whether to legalize pot for recreational use. As KVAL's Ernie LeBeau shows us, something similar could be in the works for Oregon. It is tonight's top story.
And I give thanks to the Creator every day. Man-made pharmaceuticals, God-made pot. Who do you trust?
For Elvie Musica, the choice is clear. Cannabis calms her ailments. She uses the drug for her glaucoma and to help her body deal with aging.
And I see more and more senior citizens joining our program because we're the ones who really appreciate that we're not, and which I would be without marijuana.
She was one of dozens who joined this global marijuana march and rally in Eugene.
There's still a lot of people that haven't even accepted the fact that marijuana is an acceptable medicine, good alternative medicine.
Jim Gregg says the rally is a way to raise awareness about the many uses of cannabis. Supporters gather signatures for two initiatives they hope to get on the ballot this year. Initiative 28, which would add a dispensary system to the current medical marijuana law that requires patients to produce their own pot. And Initiative 73, which would let people 21 and over grow and use pot without a license and create a commission to regulate the sale of it.
At the national level, the Sheriff's Association.
This retired cop says the best way to handle the cannabis issue is to let each state decide its fate.
We want less government. We want less government involvement in our personal lives, more freedom, and certainly this is one way to do it, which would be to allow adult citizens to choose in the privacy of their own home whether or not to use cannabis.
In Eugene, I'm Ernie LeBeau, KVAL News.
Now, organizers of the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act need to collect 125,000 signatures by early July to get a spot on the ballot this coming November.
While medical marijuana is legal in Oregon, some say it's not enough and that the U.S. needs to change its opinion of the drug. Today, pot activists rallied at Pioneer Courthouse Square, calling for new laws to make lighting up legal for everyone. Groups came out with the goal to educate and change minds regarding marijuana legalization and using hemp for industrial purposes. They also say they even have support from law enforcement.
The majority of police don't want to waste their time or effort on arresting peaceful, nonviolent marijuana smoke. What we're going to do is separate the market from the hard drugs and try to protect children by making sure that it only goes to those over 21 in state-controlled stores.
This is the 11th year for the rally, and more than 300 cities worldwide held similar marches today. Activist groups say they hope to get pot legalization on the next election ballot.
Downtown Portland was busy today. Besides the May Day rally that we told you about, another group got together, but with a very different agenda. This afternoon, supporters of the Global Cannabis March are celebrating their 11th annual rally. Their focus is to legalize the sale of cannabis for all adults, not just for those who need it for medical reasons. The group believes that if pot is made legal, the state's revenue will go up and crime will go down.
We'll raise over $200 million annually in state revenue. That's $400 million in the biennium, and save $70 million annually in court costs, police costs, and prison costs.
That's Paul Stanford, who also thinks if farmers were allowed to grow hemp, the economy would improve.
There are three news clips, the first one from Eugene that featured you, Howard. I'd like to welcome our guest, Howard Woodbridge. Cowboy. So you're a retired police officer from Fort Worth, Texas.
I am.
When were you an officer there?
I was the officer from 1974 to 1994.
That's about when I left Dallas, and Garland was about 74 and 75. Okay. 75.
Yeah.
So we were pretty close there. But you are with Citizens Opposing Prohibition.
Right.
Or COP.
Right.
And so how many times have you crisscrossed the country on your horse? I know you crossed the country at least once
Yeah, twice. I started
Twice.
out in Georgia and went to Newport, Oregon, and then 2 years later, 2005, I left the beaches of LA, and 7 months later, we were in New York Harbor.
Same horse?
Same horse.
Right on to the horse.
Where's that horse
Texas
now?
horse.
Right on. Very
It's out to pasture, I hope.
This horse is now semi-retired.
Good.
Semi-retired. I will be going back with her truck and trailer to California this fall for 10 weeks. We'll hit the street corners all up and down the state of California to push their legalize, regulate, tax initiative.
Right.
I learned at the federal level as I work in the Congress that the way to end federal prohibition of cannabis is to have the various states push it by legalizing it at the state level, which would eventually force the federal government to ratify what the states have already done.
Right.
I made some changes in my lifetime, and when I did, I switched sides. You've obviously switched sides from being a police officer to being somebody who says, hey, let's legalize marijuana.
Sure.
Why? How did that happen? What happened?
Well, for me, it's a matter of public safety.
Yeah.
You know, I've chased bad guys who've hurt other people, whether it's a drunk driver, a child molester, breaking into your home, rape, etc. And I know that every hour my profession spends chasing the nonviolent, Willie Nelson or Michael Phelps or Snoop Dogg.
Or me.
Or you, or Paul, we're missing the deadly drunk driver killed 13,000 last year. Our detectives, instead of flying around in helicopters looking for the green plant, should be right now in the chat rooms where pedophiles are hanging out trying to get your 12-year-old daughter, granddaughter to meet in real life.
Right.
That's a public safety threat we are not addressing in this country because we spend so much time on cannabis. 69,000 police officers in this country are full-time narcotics. That's 1 in 12. And this is causing a reduction because even Kurlaskowski, the new drug czar, just admitted in the Oregonian that every drug dealer ever arrested is replaced just like that.
That's right.
We're like mice in a wheel. We're going round and around. You give us more money, we go faster and faster, but we never go anywhere because every drug dealer is indeed replaced. For my profession, this has become a situation. We are addicted to the money of enforcing prohibition laws. And that's why in Congress, where I work today and have since 2005, the lobbyists for the Sheriff's Association, troopers, prosecutors, the FOP, Fraternal Order of Police, they fight me tooth and nail because I want to take away their $72 billion money to enforce these prohibition laws.
Right.
And as you may know, we are sponsoring an initiative here that we talked about briefly there on television, much like California's, that would regulate the sale of marijuana to adults and allow adults to grow their own and allow industrial hemp to be cultivated for its multifaceted purposes, everything from energy and food to building materials and paper.
Right,
So
I'm familiar with that. I've had when I was traveling with my horse through Colorado, a farmer hemp out there as a rotation crop for eastern Colorado, which is very dry.
Right.
And I said, basically, leave the poop on your boots, go talk to your state senator, your state rep, your ag commissioner of Colorado, and urge him or her to tell the federal government to look at the law from the 1970 CSA law, Controlled Substances Act, which allows for the growth of hemp, and basically read the law.
Right.
That's what it takes. It's going to take farmers, especially, to say, you know what, I want this as a rotation crop, or I want this for whatever reason they need it for.
Exactly. You know, on a similar vein, we have a question texted in from our live streaming. We're streaming live on Ustream.tv out there as we do every week. This is a question from Ellensburg, Washington.
Oh.
It's, how can we get our elected officials to recognize the research that's out there proving that cannabis is a useful medicine? And obviously it's the same thing. You've got to take them the studies, and you've got to go in with the dirt or the poop still on your shoes. And
I would add to that Congressman Rohrabacher a year ago, Republican from California, said if the Congress could take a secret vote, Paul, they would legalize marijuana today.
Right.
The education is basically already there in Congress. What they're scared of is losing an election.
That's correct.
So what we need to do is give our elected officials at the state and federal level confidence that when they vote properly to increase freedom, to limit the government coming into your home, to allow farmers to plant what they think is best for them, tell your elected officials how you feel, help those people out there who would vote properly for our issue.
Yeah, and we have another question.
Exactly.
Another question saying basically the same thing. What can we do to prod the feds into allowing Oregon to grow hemp. Again, it's taking them the research
Right.
and just endless barrage. The more and more of us who come out and do things like this TV show right across the country, like Howard Woolridge has done, come out in his community like Charles Snyder, and then Tim Payne and I have done. The more of us who do that, the sooner we'll see the end to adult marijuana prohibition.
It is
There's just no doubt.
Now, you have seen changes, though,
Oh,
since
yeah.
you've been doing it. Tell me about some of the changes you've seen, because we do, too. We see a lot of victories. We've had some lately.
Oh, sure. I've been doing this since 1997, and I've been in Congress since 2005. The Ron Paul revolution has really made my job easier. For example, a few months ago, Congressman Rob Bishop of Utah, Republican, always voted against marijuana wherever he could in the Congress. At CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, I asked him a question. You believe in the 10th Amendment, states' rights. Would you vote yes on a bill coming up this spring in the Congress, which would repeal federal prohibition of marijuana? And he went on for 2 minutes. He said, marijuana is bad. It causes cancer. It causes schizophrenia. It's a gateway drug. It's bad in so many ways. He said, however, I will vote yes on your bill, because he believes in the 10th Amendment more than he, whatever he believes in marijuana. So these are the types of incidents and cases coming up across the spectrum in the Congress. And although I can't quite tell you exactly who, you're going to find there's going to be a bill this spring to the end game for NORML, for MPP, for Drug Policy Alliance, and for me, my organization, COPS, to repeal federal prohibition of cannabis. It'll be the end game, and we'll work on that until it's done. And this should be, you should see this bill introduced roughly about the 1st of June.
We'll look for it.
It's going to have bipartisan support, and not just Mr. Ron Paul. Other serious libertarian-leaning Republicans are going to be voting for it, including, of course, like Mr. Rob Bishop.
That's exciting.
That is.
exciting.
That's good news.
We have a telephone caller. Hello, caller. You're on our show.
On there and see him. It's on an island.
Hello, caller. Hello.
You're with us.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So welcome to
Hey,
our
I just,
show. Did you have a question?
Thought I'd like to let you guys know it's great what you guys are doing for the community.
Thank you.
Legalize, regulate, educate.
Great. That's what we're trying to do.
And that is what you're trying to do, and Portland's doing a good job. We need to keep pushing on it. We need to get people to realize that it's not bad. It's very good. Personally, I have a steel plate and 5 screws in my arm, so I don't.
You've had pain.
I do have pain. So
Yep.
when it gets cold out there in Portland, I need my medicine.
Yep.
All right. Well, we thank you for your phone call.
All right, you guys have a good one.
You too.
Thanks for calling. Yeah, we are glad that medical marijuana is helping you. That's for sure. If you're
Amen.
out there and you have another question for us, give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And a lot of these questions that I'm getting a text on are in a similar vein. This one's from Sweden.
Ooh,
A
very
viewer over there in Sweden says,
Okay.
what can I do to make Sweden to start legalizing cannabis? What's a good way to start? Well, again, it's talking to your politicians and telling them that marijuana shouldn't be prohibited. I know Sweden kind of models their drug policy more so than most other European countries after the United States. And it's a much more draconian
Western
system
leading.
there than you might
Yeah.
find throughout the rest of Europe. But again, the place to start is to publicly educate. That's what it is, just like that gentleman just said. We've got to educate, and that will lead to regulation. And the more we can bring that out to the public, the better off we're going to be.
I mean, as Amsterdam changes, and it will from time to time, and I think that sometimes they lean a little more conservative. You folks in Sweden can't just rely on going to Amsterdam to get your smoke. You're going to have to get your own. Grow it at home. I'm sure that you can do it. I'm sure of it. So anyway.
Go ahead.
Let me add one thing for the caller in Sweden and anybody else listening. One of the more effective ways to bring this up in education is when you go to a town meeting where your state senator, your state rep, your congressman is there. Ask them a question. Tell me, congressman, or tell me, senator, what are the advantages? What are the good outcomes, the positive benefits of the prohibition of cannabis? And watch somebody have a big blank stare in their face.
Right. Good question.
Ask them the advantages. Name one, because I'm sure this audience knows, there are no advantages to the prohibition of cannabis. There's only the negatives. And I'd also say, in terms of education, help people understand the number one concern of parents is their children. How will legalize, regulate, tax make it a better, safer world for somebody's 14-year-old? And as I said earlier, those detectives should be protecting 14-year-olds and 12-year-olds by being in chat rooms. We should be doing a better job against the deadly drunk driver. It is Friday night. Dozens of people will die tonight from a drunk driver because, as we all know, it's mothers against what? Drunk drivers. In my 18 years of police service, I went to 0 calls generated by the use of cannabis. Alcohol, about 1,300. As we all know, marijuana is a much, much safer drug for both the user and their family, and we need to educate our politicians on that. And the other harms of prohibition to your children, again, say, many children will try this. You may think your child is special, but there's a good chance they will try this. You don't want your child to try some marijuana and it's got some meth in it, or cocaine, or heroin. And the way this can be done is if it's bought at a state-regulated store and it's checked by the FDA, there will be nothing like that in it. It'll be pure cannabis for the consumer, whether it's 16, which is a bad choice, or an adult. But these are the ways you convince the soccer moms and dads and others that you need to regulate, control it, tax it for adults. And these are the things it'll do better for our kids. Have the police officers checking on public safety, not personal safety.
Yeah. If we could concentrate our campaign to end adult marijuana prohibition on the public safety aspects, our polling has shown we can win with about 65% of the vote.
Sure.
That's our strongest argument according to the polls that we've done.
And let me say, I'm wearing this T-shirt I have now for the last 10 years. I've had about 15,000 people say why, and the elevator answer is chase drunk drivers, not Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
For your younger crowd, by the way, some don't know who Willie Nelson is. Chase drunk drivers, not Michael Phelps.
Right.
So be careful of that generational shift there. But the simple answer like that, everybody goes, oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah. And you've just convinced another person that when it comes time to vote, yeah, probably best to go after drunk drivers. Leave Willie alone.
It would be. Yeah, he just got arrested again in what was it, North Carolina?
North Carolina. His whole bus got arrested, and it was a mess. But
we
again,
hire his daughter for some of our shows, and yes, each year we will again this year at Hempstock, and so we stay in touch with them, and we're always sad to hear of their problems.
Well, the good news is that case in North Carolina generated a lot of negative publicity for that sheriff.
Right.
And that task force going out there, same as in South Carolina when Michael Phelps was out there getting almost busted, that sheriff took huge amounts of heat saying, have you nothing better to do, sir?
Yeah.
Than chase a guy who's got 14 gold medals.
Yeah.
Where's the problem? Where's the harm? So those are the types of cases, although I feel badly for all the...
And since that incident, he's won a few meets. He's gone out there and won some more.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Not gold medals in the Olympics, but...
Right. And he reminds me of Mark Stepnoski, the former NFL center for the Dallas Cowboys, 5-time All-Pro.
Right, with a Super Bowl ring.
He was smoking cannabis all the way through his 13-year career in the NFL because it was great medicine for the aches and the pains and the mental relief, calming down after his big games on Sunday. And may I say that he is not simply a great football player, he's a great supporter of this. He had the confidence to send a rookie down to Austin, Texas in 2003 for Texas Normal, paid my teacher's wages to move a cannabis issue in the Texas legislature, basically to do catch and release, which you've had here for 4 decades.
Right.
And proud to say...
We call it an infraction.
An infraction, and I'm proud to say that a few years after I was there, that bill did pass the Texas legislature. Today, officers have the option to catch and release, which they did not have in 2003.
Well, that's a big step forward for Texas.
It was a big step forward for Texas, and it also helped me basically understand what I need to do as a lobbyist. So when I went to Washington a couple years later, I hit the ground running.
That's great.
Yeah. Mark Stepnoski, great individual.
Yeah. Charlie, so how is it that you got involved in the campaign in Michigan to end to allow medical marijuana?
Well, it all started with the clinical cannabis conference in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2004. After I returned from there, I helped gather signatures for the petition in Detroit and did the Get Out the Vote. And then from there, I gathered signatures for Chuck Ream in Ann Arbor and did some Get Out the Vote. And after that, we ran the Flint Initiative. And actually, 2006 was a failed effort, but there was a clerical error on the petition, so we just redid it again the next year in 2005, then 2006, and then they kept us off the general election and pushed us to a low voter turnout election, and we were actually the only issue on the ballot in 62 precincts. And we won with the 62%, which victory, and that was the 5th city in Michigan. And we, as activists, started asking the question, "What's next?" And before long, we were in attending the Great Workshop in D.C. We found out that that we'd be running the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, and so in 2007, I was a petition manager and media relations and internship for the Michigan Coalition for Compassionate Care, and we've already did the history on when it passed, and so we're actually at the implementation phase now, so that's the short cliff notes of what occurred.
Well, it's great that you made it out here to Oregon, and
yeah, I'm glad to have you on the show.
We have another phone
Thank you for
caller,
having
though.
me.
Hello, caller. You're on our show.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am trying to find out information for myself, for my health condition, and I spoke to my medical doctor, and he's supportive of this. So what I wanted to know is, do I start by calling THCF and starting that way for the process to get a permit?
Well, if your doctor will help you with the permit, you don't necessarily have to call THCF. You can just get the forms. You can pick those up here in Portland on the 2nd floor of the Oregon building at 800 Northeast Oregon Street, very close to the Lloyd Center Mall. It's the big building with the frame of a dome on top. You go to the 2nd floor, and right there they have all the documents right there on the wall. Or you can go online and print them out at the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program's website. Then you can take those to your doctor, and he just has to fill out the attending physician statement. Then you fill out the application, you turn that in to the health department with their fee. For most people, that fee is $100 a year. If you're on food stamps or Medicaid or the Oregon Health Plan, it's just $20 a year.
How about if you're on federal disability?
Well, federal disability itself does not qualify for the low income rate, but if you're on SSI or supplemental security income, it does in the state of Oregon. But if you're on food stamps or any of those public health programs or on SSI, you qualify for the lower $20 fee. Otherwise, it's $100 a year. But believe me, even at $100 a year, one marijuana arrest will cost more than 20 years of having that permit. So I highly recommend that you do that. Now, if your doctor won't do it for any reason, or he's trepidatious, or you need more information, if you do come to the THCF clinic or any of the other people who specialize in medical marijuana, then we can teach you about how to grow, help you get involved in the local community, and give you information on how to interact with the police if that should happen, and give you more information to get you involved. We have a lot of doctors who refer patients directly to us, and we sign them up the first year and try to educate them, and then their own doctors sign them after that. But if your doctor will do it the first time, you can just go ahead and get those forms and take them right to him. He just has to fill out and sign the attending physician statement. Then you have to turn that into the Oregon Health Department with that fee.
Okay, and the other alternative you say is going through you, which is,
well, like I
that's
said,
the
there.
THCF?
Yeah, we have clinics, but you know this, and we have a referral program to doctors all over the country. If you need more information, I recommend you call us at either our toll-free number if you're outside the Portland area. That's 1-800-723-0188. 1-800-723-0188. Or here in Portland, it's 503-235-4606. And we can help you find a doctor who can get you signed up right away.
And I would be able to find out about finding a grower or learning how to do it myself, or
Exactly.
do we have cafes here? where you can buy
All
it?
of those. You'd find out about all of those.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for calling. I hope that helped.
Yeah, we have a lot of resources available to us here in Portland.
Yeah, we do. We do.
It's a
And
good
so,
thing. I'm really grateful for all that.
We can help them get involved in the movement in general, or help them get free plants, like at that Oregon Normal meeting that happens. Is it tomorrow? Yeah, it's tomorrow. They have the Oregon Normal meeting.
I have heard conflicting reports, so I'd call ahead if I were you folks on that meeting. I would. I would. But you know, it's supposed to happen tomorrow over there. But so anyway, I've heard conflicting reports, and so I wouldn't rely on us right now. I don't know what's going to happen.
I know that Oregon Normal posted to the internet that they're going to have their meeting there as usual.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, at 700 Northeast Deacom Street, and so that meeting is going forward at that location, and so
that's what they have posted.
They posted it to
That's
their
what they have
website,
posted. Okay.
and so that's tomorrow at. You want to be there by about 11:30, and you have to have a medical marijuana card and be a member of Oregon Normal to participate in that meeting, and so it's at 700 Northeast Deacom Street. And we've had that information up on our TV screen here, and we'll probably pop it up again there in just a second.
Right.
And we are circulating a petition currently to end adult marijuana prohibition and restore industrial hemp. To find out more about that, you can go to cannabistaxact.org. That's cannabistaxact.org. You can actually print the petitions out there and just print out a single signature sheet and sign it yourself and send that in, or you can print out a multiple signature sheet and get your friends and family to sign it and then get it in to us.
Now, are you back in Washington, D.C., or are you in Texas living?
Oh, I've been in Washington now for the past 5 years.
So they just passed a law themselves, and I was wondering if the
city council just voted this week to unanimously set up dispensaries, and so now that has to go to the United States Congress for approval.
Well, it's
because all the city regulations there are reviewed by Congress.
Well, the Congress has 30 days to overturn the decision of the city council.
And the mayor has to sign it first before it goes to
Fenty's
that.
for sure going to sign it. The vote 10 years ago was like almost 80%.
I know, it was huge.
So it's huge.
Right.
So I'm sure Mayor Fenty will sign it, and then the Congress has 30 days to object to it, but they didn't object to the taking of the vote.
They overturned the Barr Amendment a few months back.
Yeah, the Barr Amendment got overturned. Right, so we're fully expecting that roughly by Labor Day, this September, you'll see these places open up, these 5 dispensaries, and God's Medicine will be available to District of Columbia residents.
That's a big step forward.
And it'll be just another piece of the puzzle of moving this issue back from government control to individual control.
I like the fact that we're putting it right underneath the nose of the federales too.
Oh sure. It's going to be in your face, like it has been, like say in Denver or something. But the playground the sandbox that I play in, they won't like it. It'll be an irritation, but sometimes it's good to irritate people.
That's how we change things.
That's right. That's right.
We have another caller on the line. Hello, caller. Welcome to our show.
Hello. I was watching the show a while back, and you were talking about plants, and me and my friend got into a discussion last night. He said that he knew a friend who was growing like 200 plants in one house, and I told him no, he wasn't, because he would have been arrested. And
that's right.
So
he could be arrested if they catch him.
What are the charges for over 100 plants?
Yeah, there are enhancements in federal law at several different levels. If you're caught and prosecuted in federal court for 100 plants or more, up to 999, there's a mandatory minimum 5-year sentence for a first-time offender and a 10-year sentence for a second-time offender, and life without the possibility of parole for a third-time offender. And so third-time felon. And so with over 1,000 plants, then it's a 10-year mandatory minimum sentence for a first-time offender. But there's also enhancements once you get over 6 plants, and when you go from 24 to 25, when you go from 49 to 50, the federal law enhances it. And the federal law actually treats it the same as if you had imported a kilo of marijuana. So every plant that you grow is considered you get the same penalty as if you imported a kilo of marijuana for each plant. So I hope that helps you answer that question. But under Oregon's medical marijuana law, you're allowed to flower 6 plants per patient. And you can have 18 baby starter plants that are less than a foot tall and a foot wide. And each patient can also possess up to 24 ounces. So that's the way the law
And there's
works.
a limit to how many patients each provider can have.
Yeah, there's a limit on growers, not on caregivers. And so there's a limit of 4 patients per grower, but a caregiver can take care of more than that under the current law's interpretation. If you have a question there, we've got about 8 minutes left. Call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And we have one more question from the internet. It says, why do legislators say that federally cannabis is illegal, but it's legal in a state that allows it to discredit the issue from? Well, because there's actually a clause in the Federal Controlled Substances Act. The Federal Controlled Substances Act, CSA, is Title 21 of the Federal Code, and it's Section 903. So 21 U.S.C. 903 says that state control of controlled substances supersedes federal control. So if a state issues a license to a patient, then that gives that state or that patient protection from federal prosecution as long as they're in compliance with the state law. A lot of the busts in California of the dispensaries were for people who weren't licensed. The state of California never licensed those dispensaries. And so in Oakland, the city did, and so those folks have been protected from prosecution. So when the state or a municipality regulate and license a business entity or individual, then they're protected from federal prosecution. That was the reason that several counties in California sued the state of California to stop the implementation of Senate Bill 420. Senate Bill 420 set up permits for medical marijuana patients, and several counties sued the state saying it violated federal law, and then the state courts overturned that and said that, or stopped those counties, and it was based on that section of the Controlled Substances Act, 21 U.S.C. 903. So, Charlie, is there anything you'd like to say here?
Thanks for inviting me on the show, and just check out Americans for Safe Access website. We're doing a Preparing for Victory plan to end federal prohibition of medical cannabis by 2013.
And the city of Detroit is moving to stop the enforcement of medical marijuana.
Actually,
marijuana laws in general, not medical marijuana.
Yeah, in fact, I just spoke with Tim Beck and Matthew Abel, who are 2 crucial players in bringing that initiative.
Matt Abel introduced me to you.
Correct. They turned the signatures in just this week, and they had a really a breaking story, and it really seemed favorable, and we're going to see how it works out.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great.
Well, I'd just like to say if your audience would like to be more involved on a daily basis, the good news is they can buy this t-shirt at my website, citizensopposingprohibition.org. They're $20. They're all custom made. You can get cops, moms. My wife says, Grandma says, legalized pot. Ask me why. She's had a lot of fun with it. All right. I've had over $500 in free beer over the years. The bartender says, I like your shirt. First one's on the house. But you get to really move the issue. And the good news now, unlike it was 13 years ago in Fort Worth, we have overwhelmingly positive responses. Almost nobody's been mean to me. And I've gone through customs, U.S. Customs wearing this, and they just kind of say, oh, go through customs. Don't even look at it. But it helps move the issue. And be active as much as you can every day. This shirt is fun, and it also helps people to, as I say, every day go out there and change minds. Because if they don't ask you why, it starts a discussion. It'll spark a discussion with people that see and go, really, dads say legalize pot? Sure they do. Millions of dads say legalize pot because it's going to be a better, safer world for their kids.
Yeah, when the police can concentrate their resources on real criminals, we'll all be better off.
Exactly.
And I know that's what you wanted to do in your job as a policeman.
Exactly. Focus my profession's efforts to catch bad guys, not the Willie Nelsons and Michael Phelpses of the world.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you, Howard Woolrich of Citizens Opposing Prohibition at citizensopposingprohibition.org, and you too, Charlie Snyder, from Flint, Michigan, working on with the Americans for Safe Access.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, Pa.
Thanks for coming, and I want to remind our viewers out there that we are trying to end adult marijuana prohibition, so go to that internet website there or give us a call at 503-235-4606. Or if you have a loved one or someone you know who needs to help finding medical marijuana, then we have doctors who can help them get state permits all across the country through our referral service. You can call us toll-free at 1-800-723-0188, or you can call us here in Portland at 503-235-4606. We're very fortunate to also have the web domain hemp.org. That's HEMP.org. And that's a portal to all of our websites. I want to thank you for watching. Tune in next week. We're going to go out on the music of Mr. Tim Pate and help us restore hemp. Good night.
See you next week, folks.